Should I mute myself?
I don't think we need to mute because it's not a lot of us.
All right, it is up. I'm going, well, we'll all be here, so that's good for that. And I'm gonna post the link in the chat so y'all can see it as well.
Okay. Post a link in the chat, post a link in the chat.
Post that wherever. We got about 3 people so far, and more will be coming.
Yay.
I haven't done one of these via YouTube. Like,
yeah, this is
I've seen some, but I've never done one. I haven't done one of these yet.
Yeah, I've watched one so far, and this is gonna be real enlightening. Wow, this is what the kids are doing in 2020. This is cute.
Scroll cute.
I like this.
It's like your third sort of like generational reference, and I'm like, I thought we was all in the same.
We are, but I just, I'm starting to really feel my 30s these days, and what my students used to say to me is starting to catch up to me. Like, you old, Candice, you so old, and I'm just like, first of all, you're a baby. Okay.
First of all, you're a child.
I'm not old. You're a baby.
Yeah.
And that's really some 30s stuff to say, though. Confirming what they said.
I know. I feel it's so weird. I don't feel that far removed. I really don't.
Me neither.
I don't, even though as old as I always talk about how I feel and how I really am, and all of my like affect and just like who I am is very like on brand for like the like 50 and older crowd. But also I feel very like, I don't feel far removed from like my niece, who, for anyone who's actually listening to anything I'm saying right now, is 15. So I feel
you're the cool auntie. No, that's why you're gonna be young forever.
Oh, good. Great.
All right, y'all. This is good. I think more people will be coming in, but I think just to honor the space and the time that we have, I want to go ahead and kind of get started with a bit of an introduction. So my name's Chris. I take he, him pronouns. I'm the program director of the Paul Robeson House Museum, which is located at 50th and Walnut Streets in West Philadelphia. And I want to really begin by centering that the Robeson House, I know we're in sort of like a digital space now, but the Robeson House itself is located on the occupied lands of the Lenape people. We have a relationship to ongoing Native organizing through collaborations with groups like Indigenous 215, and also taking so much of the wisdom of the Lenape Center. So we're grateful and continue to think about our relationship to the land when we do events. And also, I think is even more important for today, for Juneteenth, to really acknowledge the labor of the Black women, which really helped to ground not only the West Philadelphia Cultural Alliance, of which the Robeson House is a project, but the Robeson House itself. And that work would not be possible without Frances Alston. We call her Mama Fran. And Mama Fran was a community librarian who in 1984 started the West Philadelphia Cultural Alliance to really bring together a lot of the sort of like Black cultural workers across West Philadelphia and think about their relationship to the city and give them, visibility and light. And in 1985, after the sort of like tragic state-sanctioned bombing of MOVE, the West Philadelphia Cultural Alliance held a week-long arts festival for healing. And that was really how we solidified our legacy. So you fast forward about 10 years from there, and Mama Fran sees the opportunity to invest into the house, which was previously owned by Paul Robeson's sister, Marilyn Forsythe, and where Paul Robeson spent the last 10 years of his life. She took the $5,000 of her life savings, did a couple fish dinners, and was able to get a loan to be able to buy the Paul Robeson House and turn it into a museum, which extended the work of the West Philadelphia Cultural Alliance. And fast forward to 2020, 2020, January. we celebrated that we were able to pay off the loan of the Paul Robeson House, and we now own that property outright, and we are moving into the future thinking about our sustainability. So
that's beautiful.
Such a beautiful story, right? And just acknowledging the labor of Black women in particular, and Black, queer, and trans folks. I have to lift up that one of our previous collaborators at the Robeson House, the New Voices for Reproductive Justice, is leading a Say Her Name Philly March right around the corner from the Robeson House, a couple blocks at 56 and Chestnut, and it's headed over to Malcolm X Park. It'll be there between 1 o'clock and 4 p.m. If you are watching this anywhere in Philadelphia, anywhere near West Philly, make sure you go ahead and check that out. Definitely shout out New Voices of Reproductive Justice. And also We Reign. We Reign is a Black girl empowerment group that's a part of organizing this march. And they were our spring residents at the Paul Robeson House. But of course, when we had social distance, but they're coming back. We know they're coming back. So shout out to them. And just to really get to this event, this series or a potential series, we call We Are Each Other's Harvest, which is comes from the language of Gwendolyn Brooks, the amazing, brilliant Chicago poet, and her tribute to Paul Robeson. And that poem has meant so much to me, and it's been used a lot, and I encourage everyone to sit with that as well. But we have some amazing poets. Y'all both poets, right? I didn't know it was like poets, writers, authors. Well, yeah, I mean, it's so much. It's all of it, and that are with us today. And I just really want to, I got the script about their bios and introductions. We have Sasha Banks and Candice Iloh with us today. So I really want to thank you all for doing that. I'm going to read their bios that were submitted, and then I'll pass it off and fall back and listen and learn and laugh and smile. So yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Let me pull this up real quick.
Chris, I just realized that there are in your butterfly shirt. I just realized that. That's dope.
Yeah, shout out to Fabiana Rodriguez.
Oh my God, how did I not notice I was a big butterfly in the shirt? I don't even know.
I didn't see the faces and the wings. I think that's dope.
Should probably put my glasses on. It's probably why I didn't see it on the thing.
I appreciate that. Okay. Sasha Banks is a 2019 Rhode Island Writers Colony Fellow who received her MFA at Pratt Institute. Her work has been published in PBS NEWSHOUR, APOGEE, RHINO, Poor Claudia, ZÓCALO Public Square, and FANZINE. She is the author of America Mine. And really soon, I'll be placing the link to be able to see more of that in detail and purchase America Mine into the YouTube chat. And additionally, Candice Iloh is a first-generation Nigerian-American writer and performer whose writing has appeared in Fjords Review, The Grio, For Harriet, Blavity, No Dear Magazine, Glass Poetry Journal, Puerto Del Sol, and the Black Girl Magic Anthology by Haymarket Books. She is a recipient of fellowships from VONA, homeschooled via Lambda Literary Fellowship, as well as a Rhode Island Writers Colony Writer in Residence alum. She holds an MFA in writing for young people from Lesley University, where she completed her forthcoming young adult novel in verse, Everybody Looking, which is coming out September 22nd, 2020 from Dutton YA/Penguin Random House. She is a 2018 High Arts Critical Breaks Artist Residency recipient, where she debuted her first one-woman show, Ada, on stage. When Candice isn't writing, she dances. And Everybody Looking is available for pre-order right now, and that link will be coming in the chat really soon. And when this video is finished, both the links to where you can get a copy of their work will be archived with this video. So we thank you all for joining us today. And I am so, privileged really to be able to step back and allow this to happen. I'm going to mute my video. You will be able to see them lead this conversation. So without further ado, welcome to We Are Each Other's harvest.
Is that the house? That's the house.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I
Yeah.
hadn't seen it. I live in Texas, for anybody who doesn't know who I am. So I've never been to the Paul Robeson House, but I'm seeing it now and it's beautiful and it's really
it's a block from my house, which is crazy. It's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whoa. I didn't
Universe was looking out.
Wow, that's dope. And I think also seeing it makes it even more dope that they actually own the building now too. So
yeah, I'm hype. I'm super hype about that.
Too. Congrats to y'all. That's really dope. Before we get into everything, I'm just gonna read 2 poems from my my book. My book is called America Mine. It feels weird to hold my book up this way, like they do on like public access channels, but this is what my book looks like.
This is public access right now.
This is public access. This is 2020 public access. It's called America Mine. It's actually my first book. It's my first book of poetry, and I'm going to read you the title poem. Yes. And I'm going to read one more. That sort of feels a little Juneteenth-y to me. So the first poem is called America Mine. The spit upon this country's flag is mine, and I do not weep at it. Consider the twisted shape of grief about the mouth upon learning the beast under the bed has always been your country, careful citizen. This nation will name you daughter while its tongue sucks the muscle from every dark body you have loved to the edge of this vanished second. I let the rage be like water this time, drinking and drinking until my darkness marries my eyes to blindness, and I am led by the ghosts still awake in the soil, still thirsty from below. The fear is under my heel now. There are multitudes in my third rib, and we are not asking anymore. Do you see us now? This is the last kindness. We will have your sweat and dress you in your own curses, oh country. What I mean to say is, all the living after this will be the vengeance.
Sasha, Sasha, Sasha.
Candice.
We are not asking anymore, is what she said.
I was not happy when I wrote that poem, but beyond being angry, I just was also like, no, this is what I want to see you fall. I want to see you fall in your own mess, you know? Like I want to see you be entrapped in your own trap that was set for me. I want to see you fail and be caught in writhing in that, not me, you know? But you know, the spooky thing is like, it turned out to be an actual curse. But also, yeah, good. So,
I mean, that's what we're doing when we write.
You know, that's so true. That's so true. Let's talk about that some more. I'm going to read this second piece that's called Post Collapse. Endings exist. Ripped curtains, shock, and chrome and clay and captives and coconut oil. Patriots are vanishing or existing less and less. Aftermath, magnolias exist. Their misty breath exists, and whatever bodies below them are held still and always. Light caught in a mirror is held, a daughter's name held in a mouth, a daughter's hand held at a crosswalk. Crosswalks exist, 808s exist, subwoofers, streets, sidewalks, and saints and sidewalks exist, pavement, parked cars, patrols, vanishing or existing less and less. Water exists and thirst. On the tongue, thirst exists, and doors and demons and decisions exist too. Danger exists. Hush, hush is vanishing. Fences and maps vanishing too. Men and their little militaries are vanishing or existing less and less. You stand at the bathroom sink, brushing your teeth in the mirror when you notice the reflection of some bygone era walk across the floor of the hallway behind you. You turn around. She shows you her hands, muddy, vines under her nails. You face the mirror and she is gone. Hands exist, hands, hoodies, hymns, hind legs, and ha ha exists. Victory and violins too. 808s and dancing men full as a magnolia with the wind in its hair exist. It's joy and that exists too. Aftermath. Living is loud, but not the way dying is loud. On the ground, some found magic. The sound of prayers exists. Round bellies of children exist. Children exist. Aftermath. There is your mother under a streetlight calling your name after sunset, and you answer. You answer. Answering exists. Answering exists, which means the living exist. Existing exists, and maybe so much death is vanishing or existing less and less.
Wow. Thank you so much for reading those two particular poems, Sasha. Like,
yeah.
We know that I'm the biggest fan of yours, period. There's no one bigger than me. And those are two of my absolute favorite poems in the book because they feel so much like spells, and like you used the word curse earlier. And I think a lot about Black magic now, like,
yeah,
you know, like this really twisted look in our eyes, kind of like, we know how to do some things that you don't even understand.
Yeah, and sometimes I feel that we don't even really understand too. Like we don't always know the power that we are actually sort of tapping into, especially as creatives too. Not just, I mean, I think especially as Black creatives, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like absolutely. I feel, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I just feel, yeah, those two poems and a lot of the other poems in this collection really just made me remember, like, to me, the whole point of being an artist is getting the power to create something.
Yeah.
It could be, you could be recreating a current reality, or you could just make some other thing up.
Yeah.
And I think that's the kind of stuff I'm trying to read right now, is like, you know, we're seeing a whole bunch of things crumbling around us. And I love being reminded that we do have the power to create. It's not some like little cute thing that we're doing. Like, I think a lot of us deep down inside understand, like, hey, if I can get this thing from here and here onto this page, I might be able to shift something. I might be able to change the way consciousness is moving. And I feel, I think I've told you before, listening to you read some of your work, it feels like somebody else wrote it. Not like you're unable to write this, but it feels like you're speaking on behalf of a lot of people, all at the same time, that have a knowing about how powerful we are, and have a knowing about our survival as well, like seeing what's about to happen next that we haven't even seen yet.
I would agree. I mean, in writing this book, I think I've told you too, like I've had experiences where I did feel like I was not alone. As sort of a way to, it's trite to sort of put it that way, but yeah, I definitely, all I knew at the time was that I just was angry. I wanted to see things destroyed and died and fall away. But I also wanted to see something else. And I was trying to get into sort of a practice of just asking myself what that would look like. What is the thing that I want after all of this is sure to fall away, right? Like, what do I want to see? And sort of building a vision, even through the filter of my own rage. Because I've said before, like, I felt really deeply that like, there was really no, I used to feel that there was sort of no use for anger or rage or whatever, but there's so much power in that. It's such an excellent motivating force, because there's so much to build and see, and there's joy in that. So I feel like it's such a wonderful time. It's really rife with possibilities. It's really rife with like a need for visionaries, and that's exciting to me. So I can see some of the things that are falling, and it does feel sort of scary to be experiencing it in real time. And what also exists is the reality that like, this is a great time to start knowing and seeing and imagining. And we haven't all been sort of encouraged to do that. But I think, I think building that tool, that skill now in the moment is what's really gonna help us to really shape the thing that we want to see. that we may not be able, that we can like name, but we don't know what it looks like. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's exciting. I think that's exciting.
I think it's super exciting. And I think it's making me actually feel a lot like I'm leading by example when it comes to some of the things I used to tell young people who I taught in New York.
Yeah.
Was like, I was always pushing for, you know, Black and brown kids to tap into their imagination, because I noticed over the course of 10 years of teaching that anytime I asked our kids to create something that they'd never seen before, it was extremely stressful to them. Like they wanted to write about the thing that was right in front of them. And a lot of that, because of the homes that they came from, felt and looked like a lot of despair.
Yeah.
I think that, you know, naturally, you know, a lot of teachers, we ask students to do things that we never did before, or that, you know, like, hey, here's the prompt. I'm going to go sit over here and like play on my phone or drink coffee.
I'm going to check my emails, and in 10 minutes. Right.
Right. While you write and pour your heart out, I'm not going to. And it's starting to make me reckon with the fact that it is really difficult to imagine and to be a visionary. And I think it's really also something of note that a lot of Black authors that are coming out right now have very visionary, imaginative storytelling qualities. And I think it's super big to just come out the gate like that, like to be a person of color, a Black person specifically, being told in many ways to make yourself small. And when you're a debut author, like I've already been told a lot of times by mentors that you only get one debut. And so how you come out of the gate is it's going to set a precedent. But it's just like coming out in 2020, like, it makes me feel like I got to come out of the gate with just all the bells, the whistles.
You have to come down on a cloud like an oracle and be like, I brought you all here today to that it's all going to be okay, and this is what we're going to do, and just read my book.
I'm a hot mess right now, but I am supposed to be I'm supposed to have it together so that I can know what to say, because people are, as much as art has been treated as if it's not important before, people really are looking at artists to know what we're thinking and what we're saying. And now it's really cool to be paying attention to the Black artists. Now it's like really, you know, it's really like this big thing to pay attention to us, even though we've been here all this time. And I think it's a lot of pressure, but I really am proud of us. I'm proud of like my community for being bold. Like, hey, I wanted to create this thing and I've never seen it before, but I mean, when else am I going to do it? I might as well do it. Everything is crazy.
Yeah, I feel like it's such an exciting thing to see. Like for example, there's a poet named Joy Priest who has a book coming out called Horsepower, but Joy and I have been working on our books for almost the same length of time, which is about 6 years. And so it's interesting to go back to what you're saying about, like, you know, us sort of coming out of the gate, but 2020 being the gate, that moment. But like, also just knowing that like, we've sort of been there, even it wasn't in our really control in that sort of way. It just is such a spiritual thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't for 2015. It wasn't for even 2018. It was for now, or like, as Black church folks say, like, for such a time as this. You know what I mean?
For this
truly.
moment.
But yeah, truly, like, and I think with that, what I've sort of been allowing myself is to say, I don't know, and sort of allow the work to live its life, because that is what, like, I can have whatever experience I'm going to have and be scared about this moment and this side and the other. I don't have to know anything, because everything that I was sort of given in that sort of, you know, creative download sort of way is in the book. And I just have to let the book sort of do whatever it's going to do and have its own life apart from me, because that's just what's going to happen anyway. I'm a debut author, but also I'm still a Black woman who's like what's going on, what, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm excited on the one hand, and also I'm scared, and like I'm sort of anxious and nervous. And my work is sort of, it was just my job to bring it in. So whatever it's going to do throughout 2020 is whatever it was supposed to do at this time. And I'm okay with that, you know?
I'm really glad that you said that, because I think like a theme right now in life and in art for me, I think, is trying to relinquish control and realizing, like, it's like a balancing act as a debut author, to relinquish control to the moment, but also to be in control of your own narrative and to be plotting and planning around how you want your work to be received, because we do care about that.
Yeah.
And I think that, I think about it a lot now, because one of the first things that you learn as a new author is how to talk about your work, how to introduce your work. Like when you meet somebody and you tell them, I'm a writer and I write books, or I write novels, and they're like, oh, well, what do you write about? And you try to summarize it for them, and you notice though over time, just like what will always happen is people are going to take from your work whatever it is that they're going to take from it, and it's all about their own perspective. It's a reflection of what they need and what they're seeing and what they're whatever they're experiencing. And so I'm even noticing myself, like being new to Philadelphia, introducing myself to people, hearing my neighbor and people who know me talk about my work and how they describe it, and me having to like bite my lip and be like, oh, okay, well, that's what they're taking from this. And even though this is the beginning, I already don't have control over how, it's going to be received. I had all the control over the past 5 years when I was working on it. And now it's my time to sit back and let it do what it's supposed to do, whatever that is.
Yeah. Because I feel too, like there's so much that happens as you're writing that you have control over, like mechanics, dynamics, all the sort of writerly mechanics and things like that. I know for me, writing this book, that very much is envisioning like this post-white supremacist place, not even a country, just a place, right? There were things that I felt like, even after the poems I knew were finished and the book was done, and it was just like, we got to get it to the printers. There still felt like there was something that was missing. And after a long time, I realized must be something that's not in my control. And what I've realized since the book has sort of been released is that it was just the time. It was just the timing. It needed the correct sort of time to exist in. And any other time would have been out of time, even though in 2017, I was like, this needs to be in people's hands now. Like, I was just like, I am only a small part of the journey of the message. I just have to make sure it gets out there. But the thing that it was missing was the thing that was out of my control, which was the timing of the thing, And
I couldn't imagine your work coming out at any other time. Like,
when I think about all the pressure that I put on myself to like hurry up and have it out in the world so that it could be useful to everyone, I just am like, girl, you had no clue. Just pipe down.
Yeah.
Pipe down. Stop piping up.
Your book is like one of the top recommended books that I've been, suggesting to Black people as of late, because
I appreciate that.
Yeah, and it's not just because I know you and I love you. It's like, I really feel like you're making the kind of work that I would like to read, and poems that incite the kind of feelings that I want to have, because at the end of the day, I'm constantly trying to feel powerful and connected to my ancestors, because this is a hard time. And so I already know what is. I want to start to feel and sense what will be.
Yeah.
And it's just very clear. Like, it's just clear, like this book came out exactly when it was supposed to, smack dab in April 2020. And it's almost like I just want to walk down the street, see Black people, be like, here, take this and read it morning and night. And drink water and rest.
Right. Get some Black rest.
Get some Black rest.
Black ass rest. I mean, and I think honestly though, really talking about Black rest though, I think I've been able to sort of focus on how I'm creating Black rest for myself, taking the responsibility off of myself to control whatever happens with my book, what happens with the poems or whatever, who they reach or how they feel about them. I've been able to actually work on rest, focus on rest, taking myself out of that, first, like out of the control seat for that, you know? So I feel like,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was gonna say, I've been like cooking a lot. I had therapy today and we talked about how like, for me, cooking is like an active meditation. Cause I was like, she was like, my therapist was like, so, cause I was telling her like, I can't get down on the floor and like meditate cause I'm still all day, like work from my bed from home. And like, you know, I'm just like, I can't sit one more second. After 4:30, I'm just like, I'm out. I gotta get up, gotta do something, gotta go somewhere, gotta move my body. So it's like, I can't be still on purpose. Like, yeah, no, absolutely not.
No.
So she was like, well, you can also practice meditation when you're doing things. And I was thinking about it, I'm like, how do you do that? What are you talking about? I was like, I already do that because I'm cooking all the time. So I feel like that's something that's brings me joy anyway. But I also, when I really was thinking about it, I was like, oh, because I'm moving my body. So there's like this like kinetic thing that's happening where like any anxiety or stress or whatever, I'm literally moving that out. I'm chopping things, I'm peeling things, whatever. But like, I noticed that like when a thought occurs, I don't have time to plug in and engage that thought, just like in an actual like sit down meditation. Right. Because I'm like, I have to worry about whether or not these vegetables are doing what they're supposed to be doing, or did I measure these things right so they don't burn in the oven or whatever. You know what I mean? So I am able to sort of like acknowledge the thought as it goes away from me, you know, and I'm like, that is a meditation. I am meditating. So I was like, oh, okay, good. I'm glad that's like because I always would, you know, me, like when I was in Rhode Island, Jason would be like, so you just go make a peach cobbler? You just gonna be out here making.
And you know, I had to get the first slice, like, please, you guys are dilly-dallying, but Sasha Banks made a peach
Not
cobbler.
dilly-dally.
You guys are out here hanging out. I'm about to get the first slice, and if you miss it, I don't know what to tell you.
Listen, you know, but I would tell Jason all the time, like, I'm just coping. I'm coping. I'm just trying to cope. But it's also meditation. So
I've never cooked more in my life. And I was told by a therapist a long time ago that meditation is simply doing one thing at a time. And so I actually, you know, I was I guess taking like a little skim through the Artist's Way book the other day for inspiration. And, you know, I don't remember what the quote was, but it was just saying like diving back into the creation of a thing is how we make sense of things. It's how we start to like get our brain flowing and not so stuck. And so as corny and cliche as it might sound during times like this, I feel like we really can try to focus on being creators. So like taking actual time to think through an idea and play with an idea and create something that sucks and then trying again, or the quick satisfaction of creating food where, you know, because you, Sasha, you know it's about to be successful every day. Every day this piece of art is going to be made and I'm going to be reminded that I have that kind of power and that kind of control, and I have a way to be reminded like I can nourish myself. And matter of fact, that is my number one priority if I'm going to survive any of this, so that I can keep making the things that I want to put out into the world.
Yeah, it's so interesting too, because like even the way that like in writing, and not to get too like old Black dad always making everything a metaphor, but like, I feel like when you're writing, you know how like you can tell sort of where you are emotionally somewhere, even if it's sort of relatively subconscious, by like what you're writing or like what's coming out, or like if the imagery is dark or like whatever, right? Like you can sort of like get in touch with yourself in that way just by looking at what you've been writing, and you're like, oh, what's happening? What's going on, me? Am I okay? But I feel the same way when I'm cooking, because my body is asking for things that it needs. So I'm able to like, I'm baking a lot. Like last weekend, I made like a batch of brownies, and then I also made a strawberry pie. Just
okay.
Why?
I'm just not understanding why you're not mailing it to me.
I don't understand why there's not a way to get you fresh, delicious goods.
Oh, it is. It is. You didn't try hard enough. Okay, never mind. Never mind.
He's like, now I'm upset. Now I'm
That's
getting
the
mad.
next event.
I know. But I think watch it, like sort of paying attention to the things that I am making also tells me about myself.
Yeah.
It just in that one day, right? Like where I'm just like, I need to get off of work and I need to go chop something up. You know what I mean? I want to stir something. I want to make something really hot and spicy or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yes, and being able to make your dream come true. Like I'm gonna do this tonight. I felt that so many times. Like, wow, this was a terrible day, but I did this. I did it on this plate.
Yeah. Right.
But I had a question that came up when you were talking. When you said, well, in general, when you made the comments about being able to hear what your body needs. And so I'm really curious about so the world is extremely loud right now. For me, like for all of us, for Black people, I constantly am feeling like I just walked into a high school cafeteria where I'm the new person and a lot is going on and everybody's talking at the same time and I don't know what they're saying. And so I'm really curious to know like what you're doing to be able to hear what you need as a person, as an artist, as all of the things that you are. Like, how are you able to just hear what you need to hear? Because we have things to do still. And you know, like Toni Morrison said, like the function of racism is to distract us from our work. And so I'm trying to know how you're hearing like yourself enough to do whatever it is that you feel you need to do, or what you're learning to do to hear yourself.
Yeah. I think it becomes really important for me to turn things off, which is not, I don't want to say that it's hard for me. It's just not it's not the immediate thing that occurs to me to do for myself, right? Because for me, like kinetic energy is the thing that helps me to process things. But sometimes I don't need to just be like processing what I'm already feeling. Sometimes I need to know what else is happening. So to get in front of that, I think I need to be like outside sometimes, or honestly, to take a fucking nap. And I say that because, so when I was growing up, my dad, so like we didn't have a lot of money. And whenever we were like sort of approaching a financial like trap, like just like disaster in our family, my dad would always find a way to like solve it before we got like to that place. But he always would take a nap. And I would always be like, how are you doing this? If you're stressed and you're about to like, you know, come into some sort of financial chaos, why are you sleeping? That is the last thing that it would occur to me to do, right? But my dad, he would always wake up with the solution to whatever that was. And that's how because so jokingly, me and my friends always say that my dad is communing with the ancestors, that like when he goes to sleep, he arrives somewhere and the ancestors are sitting around playing spades and they're like, hey, we see what's going on and here's what you need to do. And then he wakes up and he does it and then everything's fine. And so I feel like in a similar way, I have to turn everything off. Sometimes I'll even schedule it, which is a word tip from Christine to just like tell myself at this time, I'm taking a nap. I'm going to be asleep. I'm turning off my phone. I'm going to be asleep for an hour. And sometimes I look forward to that because I turn everything off. I turn my TV off. I put my phone on, do not disturb. And I just have that quiet time, because even if I don't actually fall asleep, I can just sit in that silence. So for me to hear, I literally need to turn everything on mute. I'm learning that that's important, and I really, really enjoy that. My parents have a really wonderful backyard, so I can go like lay out there sometimes and just like, they just like did the backyard and made it look all fancy and shit. So now I can go out there and like sit on this pretty outdoor couch, like lay on the couch and just sort of look up at the sky and just like lay there and just have time in the sun or in the shade or whatever. And that's really nice,
I think I'm learning to take notes from people like you who turn things off and schedule rest, because I feel like life just comes in and punches me, and then I'm just asleep for like an hour out of nowhere. I just give in. I'm like, I open my eyes for 15, like after 15 minutes, like, oh, I guess I'm sleeping now. Okay, I should probably take these books off my stomach and turn off the TV. But I really, I admire hearing about other artists having these kind of boundaries around their rest and their like dial down time, and not feeling guilty about it. I think I so struggle. Like, when you're the new kid on the block, we've been told and we've been taught for so long that we should be just, we should be grinding. We are not doing enough. Have we put in our 10,000 hours? Have we da-da-da? Oh, and it's just like, it's not until the past couple of years where I'm hearing people in my community and in my circle saying, your rest and your napping and your reading time and your quiet time is also your job, because you won't be able to think, so you can do your job well. And so if you're doing this whole grinding 24/7 thing, where you're never taking a moment to yourself and you're feeling like, oh, it's your job to be on all the time, that's going to be short-lived.
Your body is not really meant to do all of that all the time. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know who I was just talking to the other day. Oh God, was it you? I don't know who I was talking to the other day.
But, are you talking to me the other day? I don't know.
Did you talk to me?
What day is it?
I don't know. Saturday? But I was talking about how like the body's job is always to protect you and itself. So it's always doing the job of sort of looking at what could be a potential threat, what's dangerous, what could be dangerous, blah, 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 right? So it's always looking for, threats and danger. But it's our job to tell our body when it's time to sit down or when it's time to rest. When the body gets to the place where it's like, bitch, you need to rest. You need to sit down. That's always that's always like a last resort sort of thing for the body. And that's why when the body is asking for like rest, it's so dramatic, right? Like you're losing sleep because you need sleep, which is ironic, right? Or you're like, your hair is falling out and shit. Or like your eyelashes are falling out, or like whatever. You're exhausted, you can't focus. Like it sort of becomes these other things that sort of prevent you from doing other things. But if we can sort of take the onus off of the body to tell us when it's time to sit down, then there's more maintenance there, where our body doesn't have to get to that place where it's like, oh shit, we need to rest. And then it starts like mashing on all the buttons to like turn other things off that cause you to not be able to do what you need to do well. And I think that particularly as artists, like there's this hairstylist named Nikki Nelms, and she always says rest is the new prep. She's always like, get into it, y'all. I'm about to take a nap. Rest is the new prep. Because
get into it, y'all. Get into this.
Like, get into it. I'm here on my couch. I'm drinking some wine. I'm about to take a nap. Rest is the new prep. I'll see y'all motherfuckers tomorrow. You know what I mean? She's just like, if I plan, and not even that rest has to be about making sure that you can do more when you're done resting, but just, you know what I mean? It's like, like if I want to be healthy, rest has to be included in that. It can't just be about exercise and eating all the time, like eating right all the time. It has to also be about like allowing your body stillness and quiet. And that's just as good for your physical body as it is for like your creative body, your mental body, all those things too. You know?
So I think, I guess people are watching live, which is,
oh yeah,
I'm still sitting here like, oh my God, there's comments. People are like talking to us. I think I want to, I guess, start to bring things in by, I guess, if we both can share, I guess, some things that we are prioritizing as new authors right now. So like, for example, when your book comes out and right as your book's about to come out, there's all this promo that has to go into it. There's things like reviews, these events, now that we're doing entirely virtually. There's, just making connections within your community, partnerships, all that kind of stuff. And I'm curious to know, I guess I want us to both share like what kind of things we're scheduling into our daily life amid all of that rest, that is helping people find our work. Like what are some of the things you're doing? Because this is a different landscape, right? Before we had this event, you and I talked a little bit about the fact that we are debuting in a way that other authors never have. And so I want to know, what are some, I guess, some shifts or adjustments to your life that you've made to push in, I guess, get into gear?
I think I'm less afraid, or maybe not less afraid, but sort of finding myself being more consistent about moving through a fear of visibility. Because then if I'm not afraid of talking about things, because I also have like more followers now, and it's so weird because I used to be like, oh yeah, like I need to have like a certain number of followers because then blah 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 blah. But then now I have new followers, and I'm like, there was sort of like a fear that was like, oh well, now these are people who want to know about what I'm thinking and doing, and what my art is doing in the world, whatever. But I feel like I'm meeting that with like less of a fear of people knowing how I feel about stuff. It's different when you have like 5 followers and you're just like, these people aren't reading. I'm just this is for me. I'm just posting what I need to post for myself. But so in sort of rising past that fear of visibility, I think what has helped me as a debut author is just posting the things that feel important to me within my own work and being okay with that. Being okay with saying that I'm a good writer, and being okay with saying that I know that I'm a good writer, and then like sort of moving through that as a place of like, here, I want you guys to have access to my work because it's useful, and I want you to like make whatever use of it you can, and like share this with other people. Not for me, but because I sort of understand now that my book needed to live in this moment and not anything prior, that like I want people to have access to that. So if I can take a screenshot of a poem of mine that was published, or take a picture of a poem out of the book, or if someone else shares a poem, like to make sure that I'm recycling those things through my own page so that people have access to that. Because it's not really about me personally as much as it is about people knowing that like the work exists and the message in the work exists, and I want you to come and take from that what you can. So making sure that like people see the book as much as they're seeing my own face, that I think that's the thing that sort of and so like in sort of a virtual platform, I'm able to put my book in front of the faces of more people than I think I would have been able to do if I was just traveling or just, you know what I'm saying? Like there's more access to people who I know or who I'm familiar with who are also sharing my stuff. Whereas if I was just sort of relying on my own social media and then like going here and there, that sort of keeps things really narrow, I think, in a way, the audience wise too.
I think the biggest shift that I'm making, and I guess I haven't even shown my book yet. Wow, this whole time.
Yeah, you got to do your book.
Everybody looking.
There you go.
The biggest shift that I'm making, I guess, like kind of piggybacking off of what you were saying about, I guess, showing yourself and just being more visible, is allowing my personality to show more, allowing, I guess, being myself more on the internet, because that has replaced my ability to be myself in a room with a whole bunch of people and like at readings. Like that was the thing I was looking forward to. The absolute most is meeting the people who read my work. Like, but I am allowing myself to take seriously the fact that my work is now on the internet, and it is my job to share my personality and my views and my thoughts. It is my job to talk about the themes that come up in this work. I did spend a lot of time. I spent 4 or 5 years working on this book. So obviously a lot of what's in it, I'm deeply connected to.
Yeah.
And so it's like me trying to strike this balance between the fact that now that we're all on the internet, everything is so virtual, creating boundaries around that. Like I usually don't have the app on my phone unless I'm promoting something or I need to engage. But like creating boundaries around my virtual engagement, but also realizing like, hey, if I don't show myself and share myself on the internet where my communities are, it's like it's not happening because I don't have an alternative. And this is where we're all living right now. This is how we're seeing each other's faces. And like not looking down upon the tool of social media. And not looking down upon all of these, like all this technology that us aunties now have to learn.
And also the dope thing is too, like there's the fun thing about social media too, is like, there's so many ways to use it. There's so like just Instagram alone, right? Like that's the only social media that I exist on. So that for like, I think looking at all the things that you can do on Instagram and how to make those things relative to what you do or what your work is about, you know what I mean? So I think that's exciting. I think that's a thing that I look forward to just as I continue to sort of promote the life of the book. So yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with figuring that out.
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, I want us all as Black artists to be comfortable with making our lives about our art, right? So, you know, Jason Reynolds gave me this this book called Daily Rituals some years back, which is like this book that tells you about all these famous artists, creators, writers, all these, you know, people, well-known people, and how they did their daily life, right? And so the book is full of a whole bunch of like white men, right? Old white men who like lived in the forest, and from 7 to 9 they took their calls, and from 9 to 12 they sat in the garden, and then from 12 to 5 they did their writing, and then 6 to 8 they welcomed people into their homes and had their dinner and their tea. And I remember reading through this book and being like, wow, that it feels like such a luxury for them to have a whole life that is centered around thinking about their work, making their work, and then resting. And I want us to get comfortable with what I started to think about at the beginning of quarantine was like, my life can really be about the art that I'm making. It can center the art that I'm making. If I need to sleep this way and eat this way and read these things and watch these things because they inform my work, I don't feel guilty anymore scheduling my life around what I need to make what I make.
Yeah, because it's also who you are. So you're learning to sort of move into that. And in doing so, you adapt things into yourself that make sense for not just who you are, but also what you're writing, which are all sort of like intertwined. So I love that. And also, I want a copy of that book. So can I?
You want the Daily Rituals?
I want the Daily Rituals too.
You want that book?
I'm trying to get some daily rituals in my life, Candice. I'm trying to make
look, everybody, I just sent Sasha a book and she's asking for another book. And I just feel like
we're writers, we're friends, okay? Candice, don't do me like that on national internet. Okay?
You know, we'll talk about it. Maybe I'll read it to you over FaceTime.
Okay.
I don't know.
Thank you. Make it happen, Cap. All right.
So do you have any, I guess, final thoughts, words, things you want to share? Maybe if you want to share what you've been reading lately, or what you've been meditating, what you've been watching, anything like that that you want to share with people out there that you are resting within to be you and do your thing?
I know that we joked earlier about like calling TV watching like cultivating. But I have so enjoyed watching every season of Insecure over and over starting from season 1. And like actually reviewing it as a writer though, not just as a viewer. Candice knows, because I'd be like, this happened in season 1, episode 6, and I didn't appreciate that, but it all got tied back around in season 4, episode 5. But I think too, I think I would just encourage any other writers or any other creators who are watching this to like look into things that maybe are not a practice that you like. I'm not an actor, but I'm enjoying sort of throwing myself into a show like Insecure from all angles as like a viewer and a writer and a this and a that. So I think it's important to sort of like allow yourself to lean into some of those things too. If you're interested in visual art, if you're interested in painting, if you're interested in music, like sort of absorbing as much of those things while you have the time to just lean into those 100% and do that. Because I do really believe that you are cultivating when you're doing that. You can take dynamics from those different fields, and whether or not you produce anything out of your own work with those things, it's just good to have those skills or those ways of thinking in your own heads. I think that that's helpful too.
Absolutely. I was told a long time ago by a mentor that when I can't write, I should stop trying to write and watch a movie. I was told, and this is a person that it's Jason again. He's this mentor. He knows that like film is something that inspires me as well, and I think I would encourage other Black artists to just really, like you said, engage in the things that inspire you and that really just ignite something in you, and just indulge in it and realize that it is a part of your creative process, as well as figuring out like what kind of schedule you want throughout your day. What do you want your life to look like? Because honestly, this is prime time to reimagine that. My routine has shifted quite a few times, me just trying to figure out what feels good for me. And shout out to Mateo, who I think is watching right now, because I asked him the other day like what his ritual was. And of course, Mateo has a background in sales and told me he follows these 16 steps before he writes.
16.
Look, he told me all the 16 steps, Sasha. And one of the things that stuck out to me was he was like, yeah, I watch music videos for 2 hours before I write every time.
Word. Yeah.
And at first, I think the first time he told me that he did that, I was just like, really? Every time you write? And then he repeated it. And the other day I watched a whole bunch of Black music videos just randomly. And I was just like, I actually get why this is a part of his writing process.
Yes.
Like it is hella inspiring, and I don't care how weird or like whatever you might think the quirk is. Like, I don't really think these old white men who are dead and gone, were sitting there questioning if their million-hour walk through the forest before they wrote was overindulgent. I don't think they ever questioned that. They were like, this is what I need.
They gave it a name.
Right. This is why I need a mansion, because I need 15 rooms to think about my 15 ideas. So look, like Black people, get your rooms and get your whatever.
But, I thought about that earlier. I know we're about to wrap this up and I'm going to make this really fast, but just in terms of like making space, right? Like we're laughing, but also living rooms, their sole purpose was to show off the things that you had. Even if behind the living room and all your other rooms, there was nothing else to see and you were totally destitute, the living room always had all the best of what you could afford in it. And that's what living rooms are for, right? in constructing houses, which I know has a very capitalist has like a very capitalist slant. But what I'm saying is, if you can designate time and create space in whatever way that looks like. I mean, I live at home with my parents, so I can't sort of make a physical space, but even just making like time, designating time. But if you can designate a space, even if it's a space that you use for all other sorts of things throughout the rest of the day, if there's 1 hour of the day where your kitchen table is for this, it's for making vision boards, it's for whatever you want to do, I think that this is the time to do that.
Yeah. I absolutely agree. It's what I've been spending my time doing. I think Chris is going to join us again. He's going to come right back in to
sure.
Close out our talk, because I really had a good time having this conversation, Sasha.
Listen, I always love talking to you, Candice.
Because I don't know what you all out there in the virtual world are doing to stay sane during these times, but FaceTiming your friends that's the way. And I think that we all really need each other.
Yeah.
And this is the first time me and Sasha have had time to talk to each other in length this week. We usually talk a lot of times per week. And so you guys were just watching us kiki for an hour. Basically.
For an hour. I hope, Chris, that y'all can do a series of these, because I think it was great for me, but I would love to also watch something like this again. So yeah.
Yes.
I just yelled in the chat.
Watching the friend, like it was just, I don't know. I just took a step back. You're right. I'm gonna assert myself. I'm gonna jump in there.
Yo, I just got in the chat and yelled at Chris and was like, "Chris, come in now."
Hop in. Yeah, I would love to see this happen again. Yeah, that'd be dope.
Yeah, and I think there's definitely room for this series. You know, maybe now you both have been like knighted into like helping us find out who's next, and we'll work on that. But also, I think like one thing I'll be remiss to mention is that Harriet's bookshop. Harriet's bookshop was part of our initial conversations in doing this and talking about debuting in 2020. Harriet's bookshop, owned by Janine Cook, as a sort of a Black independent bookstore dedicated to Black women, which opened up 6 weeks before social distancing and
crazy
like shut down. So like imagine the sort of already the pressure on independent bookstores and sustainability. You add, you know, even further in a time sort of like quarantine, but that has not slowed them down at all. And Janine,
I've seen her like outside on the street, just like handing people books.
Right.
Yeah, she's doing that real work.
Yes.
Handing out books at the Juneteenth party with Black Lives Matter Philly. So shout out Harriet's Books. Their link is in our chat. There's so much affirmation in the chat, y'all, that I want y'all to check out. But just in the sake of getting this and getting on to our Black ass rest, let's close it out. And once again, I'm Chris, at the program director at the Paul Robeson House. You can learn more about us at paulrobesonhouse.org. Let's do like a socials thing, like a.
Oh, where we can be
Candice,
found?
where can people find you, Candice?
So I can be found on becomeher.com, which is my website. It's BECOMHER, which also happens to be my Instagram handle and my Twitter handle. I'm on Facebook also, but not really. So go there at your own risk.
Right. I have a website. It is thesashabanks.com, just thesashabanks.com. And then I'm only on Instagram. So that's King Sasha, King 2_ Sasha. So if you want to holler at me or just come see what I'm doing or what I'm cooking. Yeah.
Awesome. So in the spirit of the food that we talked about so much, we have a lot to chew on from conversation.
Dang, I thought you were about to be like, Candice, I'm bringing you a plate. Like that was just really deceptive.
You want food from everyone, but you've offered us
I
nothing.
do. Yes, I do. Somebody bring me some food.
What about us?
I think that's the question for the chat. Who's going to bring Candice some food? We're going
Who
to
will
this out.
You live in Philly, Chris. I mean, I think it's an obvious answer.
You saw me at the same Poppy store getting the same cheeseburger platter.
Chris was making ramen before you came on. So I'll put you on blast, Chris. Chris is making ramen, Candice.
Old Bay and soy sauce on a ramen noodle.
Ramen still goes sometimes.
That's a cry for help, Candice. You need to bring Chris a plate of your crispy salmon.
Oh man. Okay. Wow. Thanks for shifting the narrative.
All right. But yes, let's stick to our thing. Let's pause this now. This will be archived. We're going to talk about how long it might stay up there. It might be for a long time. I think it was a great conversation. We'll talk about it. And thank you all for joining us this afternoon. So
yeah, thank you for having us.
We'll stop this broadcast.